Hi everyone, I'm Megan and this is Beguiled by Books, a community of book lovers and word nerds. Today I'm sharing my August 2025 reading wrap up. Let's get started. August was interesting. It was a very quiet month, but I look at it as the calm before the storm as we travel so much in September, October, and November of this year. So, should be interesting as we get towards the end of the year into the colder months. But in August, I read 10 books, and I'm super excited to run through them with you today. The first book I started with in August is a book called Be Gay, Do Crime. And this is a series of short stories of different folks from the LGBTQ community committing kind of innocuous crimes to offset some of the discrimination or bullying or harassment that they faced. And it's a very real theme with a very cheeky way of talking about it. And I really enjoyed the book. 16, I think, short stories. So if you're a fan of short story anthologies, this is a super fun one. I got the book 11/22/63 from my local library, and I was super excited to read it. It's my second Stephen King book, and this one is no surprise, pretty big, but it is all about the Kennedy assassination and what happens when our main character in 2011 finds kind of this weird little time wormhole and goes back to 1958. So, really interesting take on time travel, which is really cool, very interesting thoughts around changing the future and what that could look like and that butterfly effect phenomenon. It was a really good book. I know it's, of course, a Stephen King, so it's super popular, but if you haven't read it and you're kind of interested in like time travel, that type of sci-fi, sci-thriller type thing, really, really good book. Really enjoyed this one. Another book I got from the library is Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. I am loath to admit I have not read any of John Green's work up until now, but Everything is Tuberculosis is a nonfiction, and he's really known for things like Turtles All the Way Down and The Fault in Our Stars. But Everything is Tuberculosis is shockingly all about tuberculosis, but it's an interesting nonfiction because it's really short, not super sciency to make it really appealing and approachable for everybody, but it's also about a disease that most people kind of write off and don't think exists anymore, yet still affects a really large portion of the world. So, really well done, very informative. John Green's approach to storytelling is, of course, incredible. I love when fiction authors move into nonfiction because it reads so beautifully and poetically like a story. So, check out Everything is Tuberculosis if you haven't already. In August, I read The Emperor of Gladness by Ocean Vuong, and that book was a long time coming. I know Ocean Vuong is very popular from his poetry books, and his other novel, Time is a Mother and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I was excited to read The Emperor of Gladness. The folks at my local bookstore really liked that book. One of them said it was her favorite book of the year. I did not love this book. It was very difficult to get through and not difficult from like a material concept or from a heaviness or an uncomfortable situation. I felt like it was trying to be really poetic and deep and meaningful and metaphorical, and it just fell flat to me, unfortunately. I know a lot of people say it's, the new great American novel, and that's great. And I've never actually cared for the great American novels of old, and no surprise, I don't love what people are calling the new great American novels. So that's my take. I know it's probably super unpopular. Quite curious to see if you've read this really popular book and what your thoughts were. Let me know in the comments. I read a book called Of Boys and Men in August, and this one was really interesting. I had first come across it from Ryan Holiday's book recommendation list that he emails out, and he is a parent of two young boys. So he and his wife, I know, are very active and enthusiastic parents. They are always looking to learn and do what's right for their kids. Very interesting. But I chose to read Of Boys and Men because I really wanted to practice what I preach, so to speak, and look at things from different perspectives. And I really haven't read a book about the male condition, so to speak. Read lots of books about feminism, lots of books around elevating women and young girls, and that's really important. So I really wanted to take a step into that other realm and see what that looks like. And the book was fascinating. I really enjoyed the author first and foremost saying, "Hey, I am a straight white guy from Britain, so just so you know, I am aware of the position I'm in while reading this book." Very interesting, and he also does a great job talking about everything that has been done for women is the right thing. It's not an either or. It's not disparaging one to lift the other. Really well done book, quite short. I think if you are a parent of boys, it would be really good for you to read this book because there's a lot of cool solutions for how to help boys struggle less in school by doing things a little bit differently than what traditional models call for. So it was a really good book, lots of food for thought, and also helps people really look and understand how um, we have to lift everybody all at once and make sure everyone is learning and being taught differently to what they need in order to achieve equity rather than maybe parity or equality. Really good book. In August, I read Chain Gang All Stars, and this book has been sitting on my shelf for I don't know how long, 18 months, 2 years, something like that. And I'm so glad I finally read it. This book would be so amazing to adapt to the screen. It is a book about the prison industrial complex and how in this not too distant dystopian future, prisoners fight to the death for their freedom and they reach different ranks. And then to get to the freedom rank, you basically have to kill a lot more people, but it's all sanctioned and monetized by private prisons. Really interesting concept. Feels a little too real, might make you a little uncomfortable. But I think this would be an incredible screen adaptation. The dialogue is there. It's really witty and bantery, but also profound and deep. The action is really incredible. I mean, we've got Titans kind of fighting for their freedom. There's a lot on the line. There's a lot to lose. Friendships are at stake. Excellent book. Very well done. Worth all the praise. Really would love to see this get adapted to the screen. That would be incredible. In August, I read the fifth and final book of the Inheritance Games series called Games Untold. And this one, I didn't know what I was expecting, but this one is kind of a compilation of small short stories following several of the characters from the Inheritance Games series. It was nice, it was sweet. It was honestly my least favorite. If I hadn't read it, I would have been fine. But I'm glad to wrap up the series. I adored the series, super pumped about it. I'm going to read some more of the author's work because I just love the puzzles and the games and the plot twists and the YA, more innocent approach to the world. It was lovely and delightful, and I highly, highly, highly recommend the Inheritance Game series. I unexpectedly got a book called A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young from my library. Now, this book clocks in at 277 pages for a contemporary fiction book, and that's always really nice. I like when stories are not unnecessarily drawn out just to hit a certain page mark. In this, we follow a woman who has a twin brother who was killed unexpectedly in a hunting accident in her rural hometown in the mountains, forests of California. And when she gets there and starts kind of piecing together the story, she finds some inconsistencies. So she unravels things. The story is not what it appears. More people are involved than originally thought. Kind of a mystery-ish, but it was more about grief and loss and kind of coming home and dealing with your past than it was about the actual mystery and the hunting accident and her brother. So it was a good book. Big themes of grief and loss and healing. Very enjoyable, very easy to read. I read it in an evening. Yeah, good book, fun, enjoyable. In August, as part of a summer reading challenge, I read a book that I loved as a kid. And while I hadn't one picked out initially, I ended up reading Anne of Green Gables, and I'm so glad I did. This was the first big girl book that I read when I was probably 5 or 6 years old with the help from my mother, as you can imagine. It's quite a big book for a 5-year-old. But this one was so sweet and delightful, and I had forgotten so much of the story, and it all came back to me in such a wave of nostalgia. It made me happy. And Anne is just a delightful, precocious child. You get to see her grow up into this lovely young woman. It's hard as a young woman to not relate to Anne with an E, just a sweet story. It's a classic. I think it came out in 1905, so it has really survived and stood the test of time for good reason. So this is a great book to read with young girls in your life and just enjoy and really embrace the purity of childhood. I wrapped up August with a book called 12th Night. Now, I got this as part of a mystery bag at my local bookstore. And one, it's a sports book, which is a genre I rarely read. And two, it is a book by the author known as Olivia Blake, who wrote the Atlas Six, but she writes under her real name. So this was really fun because I happen to love Olivia Blake, the Atlas Six, and her other books in that more adult category. And this is a YA book, and it's all about kind of e-games and those multiplayer online role-playing games. So really fun, really sweet, and also a take on Shakespeare. So y'all know I'm a big fan of Shakespeare adaptations. Delightful little book. I loved it. It's great for all ages, I think. Super, super fun, and just a great way to end August on a high note and go into September as we start getting into cozier months, cooler weather, all the fun things, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas here at the end of the year. It's about to be a really fun time of year for me. I can't wait to hear what you have read in August. Please share with me some books that you're loving right now. If you got a book from this video that you're interested in reading, give me a thumbs up and drop a comment below and let me know. As always, please subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell so you always get notified when I post videos which come out weekly. Until next time, have an amazing day.